I'm Bronwyn. I'm a strategic foresight advisor with UNDP, and I'm here in Mauritius to help the government shape the Vision 2050 for Mauritius. And we do that through foresight. What is foresight? Well, foresight very basically is the art, not the science, of understanding change so that we are better equipped to survive change, firstly, but more importantly, to shape change. And that's where foresight intersects with visioning. Foresight equips people with a whole lot of tools and techniques to help us better understand what is going on in the world and to better collaborate on what we want to do about it and where we want to end up together. So foresight can help a country craft a vision for where that country is headed through a whole lot of collaborative and sense-making techniques. So the foresight process starts with mapping what is going on in the world. So we call that sense-making. It starts with looking at signals of change, drivers of change, and then we get into sense-making, which is where we start to figure out what all those things that are impacting on change mean for us, right? And the shape and direction of the future is headed. Once we understand that, we are better equipped to make choices about where we want to end up. And again, foresight is a whole lot of tools and techniques to help us collaborate, to help us unpack, and to help us discuss together what it is that we want for our futures and how we could possibly go about directing that future together. So there are a whole lot of uncertainties that are almost certainties at the moment, and we call it in futures terms these core drivers of change. So some drivers of change are specific to specific contexts, but others are really universal to all of us dealing with the future of humanity together. So the big one, of course, is the shifting climate. However you want to describe that, climate patterns are changing. Sea levels are changing. It's getting colder in places, hotter in places, wetter in places. So we have to react and adapt to that reality. That's, of course, a reality. Then, of course, population dynamics are another undeniable driver of change. Population dynamics are not just birth rates, which are one of those great indicators that can really help us predict, even though foresight isn't really about prediction, the shape, very literally, of what a society will look like. And Mauritius, like many other countries across the world, is dealing with declining birth rates. I say many, we're really talking about virtually all countries across the world are dealing with declining birth rates. And that means, of course, a different shaped population going into the future. More older people, less younger people, different demands, of course, on public resources and different desires and needs from the population themselves. That's another big one. Another big driving shape of change is, of course, the progress of technology. I say progress in inverted commas because progress is not linear and it has different effects on different people. But at the same time, we are doing more with less and sometimes more with more when it comes to progress and technology. That is the speeding up of what we can do without using our own brains and bodies. Of course, artificial intelligence falls into that. How do we compete? How do we equip our populations to compete in a world where technology is increasing, taking over or eroding what human beings did in order to carve their own place in society and justify their value in a very competitive economy? So that's another shift we need to look at. Another one more pressing, perhaps slightly less long-term, but nonetheless undeniable, are the shifts in multilateralism at the moment. The different shapes of geopolitics, the different poles of power, and how, of course, smaller countries get caught up in these elephant fights that we see around us as this new kind of global world order is being worked out. And the sub-trends, of course, they are things like conflict, hot conflict, but also economic conflicts too. And then another more sort of midterm trend we all need to deal with at the moment is the specter of debt that is hanging over our economies. And debt, of course, is very entwined with ideas like development and social protection because Money spent on servicing debt is not money that can be spent on current needs. That's a great tension always between the demands of the present and the demands of the future generation, right? And trying to balance that dynamic is, of course, another massive driver of change. And there are many more, but those are some of the common issues that almost every country in the world is going to have to grapple with one way or another.